If you're playing any 3D game right now, you should be thankful for the ability to do that, to a single game and a single man that created it. Games before that game were simple, lacking in graphic department and gameplay. But a single man with a huge vision didn't just change gaming, it redefined what games could be forever. In 1993, he unleashed something that the world have never seen before. Doom and later Doom 2 weren't just titles you played, they were experience that cracked open the door to an entire new genre, the first-person shooter. Fast, brutal, immersive, addictive. These games didn't follow trends, they created them. A vision so far ahead of its time, it demanded new hardware just to be fully realized. Of course, Carmack wasn't alone. Standing beside him was not just a colleague, but a friend, John Romero. And together they didn't just make games, they changed the world. Now you might be asking, how could a game from 1996 possibly shape the future of AI and 3D graphics cards? Well, let me tell you a story. The story of id Software, an unstoppable force of passion, vision, and code that redefined everything. Every revolution has a beginning. And this one started not in a lab, not in a studio, but in a small, quiet office in Shreveport, Louisiana. It was late 1980s. The gaming world was still young, full of promise but far from what it could become. John Romero was already making a name for himself, a self-taught programmer with a passion for pushing limits. He had wild imagination and a dreamer's soul. He wasn't just writing codes, he was writing stories, building worlds, and chasing something bigger. Then came John Carmack, quiet, focused, intense, a technical prodigy with a mind like a supercomputer. Where Romero saw the universe, Carmack saw the code that could hold it together. They met while working at SoftDisk, a small software company that had no idea that two legends had just crossed paths. And when they did, something clicked. Two very different minds, one creative and explosive, the other methodical and brilliant, but both driven by some relentless passion to build something no one had ever seen before. Late nights turned to early mornings, ideas turned to prototypes, prototypes into legends. Together they broke the rules of what games could be. Together they cracked new language of design. And together they founded id Software. They borrowed PC in the darkened office of SoftDisk where they worked, and they built the future. They didn't wait for permission, they didn't ask what was possible, they just did it. Before the demons of Doom, before the thunder of Quake, there was something simpler, but no less revolutionary. It all started with a little boy in a helmet, racing across alien landscape, jumping through impossible levels. His name was Commander Keen. In 1990, Carmack and Romero, still working by the day at SoftDisk, they began moonlighting on something they believed in, a game that could bring console quality side-scrolling to a PC, something that experts said was impossible. You see, PCs back then weren't meant for gaming at all. They lacked the programming and hardware to run the games. That's why console gaming was in its prime. But the genius of Carmack didn't relent, and he managed to figure it out. A piece of code, a breakthrough, smooth side-scrolling on underpowered hardware, a technical miracle. Romero instantly saw what it could be, and together they poured their souls into it. The color, the music, the speed. It wasn't just a game, it was a message. We can do this, and we can do more. They released Commander Keen as shareware, giving the first episode away for free. And in doing so, they shattered the rules of industry. Players downloaded it by the thousands, and then 10 of thousands. Suddenly, those two guys from nowhere were everywhere. But Keen was just the beginning. They have tasted creative freedom, and they wanted more. What came next would kick down the doors of gaming forever. In 1992, the world met a new kind of a game, one that was louder, faster, more brutal than any game in the market. The year of Wolfenstein 3D, a first-person shooter set in the heart of a Nazi stronghold, where the players weren't just watching the action, they were the action. For the first time, gamers saw through the eyes of a hero, running through corridors, blasting enemies, feeling the adrenaline in every step. And behind it all, the same duo, Carmack engineering the impossible, Romero designing the chaos. The stage was set, the world has seen a glimpse of the future, but they weren't ready for what came next. In December of 1993, the gates of hell has opened. And through the gates came Doom. You weren't playing as a hero, you were the hero, armed with nothing but grit, guns, and arsenal of attitude. Carmack's new engine brought fully textured 3D environments and dynamic lighting. Romero's level design turned every map into a brutal playground of survival. It was loud, violent, fast, raw, and it was perfect. Doom spread like wildfire, not through shelves, but through floppy disks, passed hand to hand, downloaded from early bulletin boards installed in school computer labs and office PCs. I'm pretty sure you all heard the fairy tales that Doom was installed in more computers than Windows at that time, and actually it was true. I do remember playing Doom on my school computer, even back then, shooting my friends and being shot by one. Doom invented deathmatching and, in a way, competitive gaming.
This is a good opportunity to learn.
It was unstoppable, and the world never seen anything like it. But it wasn't just about gameplay. Doom pioneered something bigger: modding. Carmack gave players access to the game's tools, initially giving the keys for the people to drive. And people have responded with maps, weapons, entire new games built inside Doom engine. Gamers weren't just playing anymore, they were creating. And then multiplayer. For the first time you could connect two machines and face off in a deathmatch. It was chaos, it was war, it was personal. Doom wasn't just a milestone, it was movement. It changed what games could be, not just entertainment, but culture, a shared experience, a world you don't just visit, but you lived in. And just when the industry was trying to catch up, ID Software was already looking ahead. Carmack wasn't satisfied, Romero wasn't done. They had one more idea, one more monster to unleash. A Quake was coming, and the world will never be the same. In 1996, ID Software strikes again, and this time the ground shakes. They call it Quake. With Quake they didn't just raise the bar, they vaporized it. It was the first truly 3D game world. Every enemy, every hallway, every explosion built from the ground up with fully polygonal rendering. No sprites, no illusions, just raw digital reality. Quake was dark, fast and violent, but most of all, it was demanding. For the first time, the average PC couldn't keep up. The game ran, but barely. Frame rates choked, graphics shuddered, and players hungry for full experience realized something. They needed more power. And so began the next revolution, the revolution of hardware. Names like 3D-FX and Voodoo began to spread through PC gaming circles like fire. In 1996, the Voodoo graphics card were launched, and thanks to this amazing game and those who created it, we now have the graphics card. In a way, those two guys, Carmack and Romero, have created more than few games. They created modern gamer. The Voodoo card didn't just improve gaming, it transformed them. With hardware accelerated rendering, filtered textures, Z-buffering and smooth frame rates, it made Quake look almost alive. Competition followed fast. ATI, Nvidia, Matrox, S3 all raced to meet the industry instant demand. And it wasn't just technical shift, it was cultural one. Gamers became gearheads, benchmarks became bragging rights, frame rates were sacred. Can it run Quake became the new standard. But the game's legacy didn't stop with the graphics card. Quake wasn't just a game, it was an engine, a toolset, a framework, a foundation, and developers around the world rushed to license it. Soon the Quake engine powered a staggering 70% of FPS games by the late 90s. It was everywhere. Hexen 2, Daikatana, Soldier of Fortune, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, and also the game that made Valve the company it is now, Half-Life. Even the Source engine, which were later powered games like Portal and Counter-Strike, was built on the bones of the Quake codebase. The industry was running on its blood, and the developers pushed this engine harder, demanding better lighting, richer AIs, smarter physics. Hardware makers pushed back with the better silicon. GPUs evolved, pipelines expanded, memories increased, shaders were born. And somewhere along the path, something unexpected happened. A realization that the same GPU, designed to render monsters and gunfire at 60 frames per second, were incredibly good at math, at partial processing, at solving thousands, even millions of equations simultaneously. What started as a way to draw better shadows became a perfect tool for something else entirely. Neural networks, deep learning, artificial intelligence. In the mid-2000s, Nvidia launched CUDA, a platform that opened up their GPUs for general purpose computation. This was the start of everything. And in 2015, Sam Altman with co-founder Elon Musk had started OpenAI by using the same hardware meant to run Quake. From pixel precision, from rockets and railguns to robotics and reasoning, all of it, every frame, every frag, every line of Carmack's code helped bring us here. And maybe that's the greatest twist of all. The game, too powerful for the computers of its time, ended up helping building the machine of the future. I hope you like this video. Please consider liking and subscribing. Or maybe you want to know the untold story of Grand Theft Auto. Then here's a video for you.